as a child, I don't remember failing. And I'm being very honest.
Yeah.
Life was beautiful. You get stars for doing well. And, no.
Something's coming, eh?
Yeah, no. When I was doing standard 2, it would have been grade 4. I had a teacher, I wonder if she's still alive. She actually almost made me leave school.
Okay.
Because I think looking back now, she had a problem of sorts. Maybe she was an abuser of something because she was very angry. She taught us Afrikaans.
Okay.
And she would come in and open the book and ask us questions, and we would line up for her to hit us. And there is nothing I'm more scared of than physical violence, because that's what it is,
Yes, yeah.
I remember I was thinking, my goodness, if I wasn't scared of my parents, I would run away from school because she made it hell. So I wonder actually where she is. I can't say her name because it's unfair to her family.
Yeah.
So it wasn't failing, but it was fear of school because of what school brought with it.
Yeah.
So that is the only memory I have of school that is an unhappy memory.
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.
So my guest for today is Dr. Judy Dlamini, a medical doctor, businesswoman, philanthropist, and the current Chancellor of Wits University. And it's an absolute pleasure that she's joined us in studio. Dr. Judy, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us. How's the week been? How are you doing? Have you had a good week so far?
I've had an excellent week. Good afternoon, Khabazela. Good afternoon to your listeners. It's been a great week. Thank you.
Good. So, Dr. Judy, you've had a diverse and accomplished journey, right? From medicine to business, philanthropy, and you're in it and you're living it on a daily basis. But if you had to look at your life from an outside perspective, what would you say about the life that you live?
Interesting. And, and life is a gift. So every great day, I'm very grateful to be alive, It's been better in some ways than I thought it would be, but hard in other ways. So it's a mixed bag, really.
So before we get into the failures, because we got the next 50 minutes or so with you, let's take a little bit of a step back to your childhood, which was the foundation, right? This is with the foundation where we learn kind of we go through our first failures and then we get the responses from our parents and those, the community and the family around us. And sometimes their reaction to our failures can shape the way in which we view failures that happen. So paint us a picture of a young Judy growing up in Westville in KZN. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
I'm the last of 9, 6 half siblings and 2 siblings. I grew up in the earlier years. It was the whole family, the many grown-up kids, because the age difference between my half siblings and my other siblings is quite big. So I was the last one, quiet, shy. I did well at school when I started school, so I was always the loved one.
Okay.
I always felt loved by everyone. And I guess I nourished that love by just trying to do well. Do well at school, do what the parents said you should do. So I was that teacher pet type of
Okay, the
girl.
teacher's pet,
teacher's pet. Because I sat in front in class. I wanted to do well. So I was boring, basically.
So were you a self-motivated child? I mean, or were your parents very, very strict with you in terms of, academics? You must study, you must do this, or did that all come from your own self?
It was mainly a self-motivation one. My parents didn't have to tell me to study or anything like that.
Yeah.
I did well because I was just conscientious, but also I had the talent at the time, which actually came back to bite me when I got to university. So I was self-motivated, and I don't want to take anything away from my parents because they were hardworking. Maybe I saw them working hard and realized that this is what you do in life. But the other thing, they were strict in terms of you come back home at this time and no later. When we send you to buy bread or whatever it is to the groceries, we should look at the watch and in no time you should be here. So I would run to the store. So I was that kid that if you send her, she'll come back on time, one. Two, she'll bring all the change accurate. So I was
So very dependable, very responsible.
from a very young age.
Yes. And you said you were the last born of 9, right?
Yeah.
So what was the age gaps between your siblings? So the eldest versus you, what was the age gap there?
Actually, this is an interesting one because my dad's firstborn was 5 years younger than my mom. So my dad got married, had 6 kids. The wife passed away. He stayed to raise his kids for 9 years before he got married to my mom, and my mom was young. So it was like my 4 siblings could have been my parents.
Yes, yeah.
So then the people that I could really call my siblings because I played with them are my late sister and my late brother. And the age difference between my brother and I is 2 years. Between my sister and I is 4 years.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that would have also been quite the thing that shaped you, maybe with your responsibility and all that, because you had all these elder siblings who probably, were there to also say, listen, Judy, be careful this, don't do this. They would also have parented you in a way.
Yeah, in a way. Though we stayed together only for 2 years.
Okay.
And then after that, it was just my parents and my other 2 siblings.
Yeah. And then growing up as a responsible student like you said you were, what were your dreams? I mean, if you look back now, did you achieve those dreams, or did you have completely other dreams? Or were you living the life you wanted?
I am living the life I wanted, to be honest, Khabazela, because at 4 I wanted to be a doctor. As a teenager, I wanted to have a doctorate, and I've done all those, but there were failures in between.
Yes.
Right? And so I am living the life I wanted. Actually, it's better than what I wanted, because then dreams develop all the time. Because when you attain a dream, you then have another one. Mm-hmm. So, it's been an interesting one in that sense.
Talking about dreams, I had pulled up a quote that I had found from you about dreams. So it says, dream and continue to dream. Don't stop. When you reach your first dream, create another one and another till your days are over here. So what I'm saying is, when you reach your first dream, create another one and another one till your days here are over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a beautiful quote.
I live that. I live that quote, actually. That's my life.
Yeah, it is, because you've done so much in your life, and you don't seem to settle, to say, okay, well, I've achieved I'm a doctor now. Then you went from being a doctor, you went and got your occupational therapy. Then you went and you just studied further. You've got an MBA. Then you went into business. So tell us about all these. Were these all little dreams that you kept on dreaming? So you achieved one dream, then you come up with another.
Yes. It's actually interesting because I had 2 dreams before attaining the first one. Mm-hmm. So 4-year-old wants to be a medical doctor. Teenager wants to be an academic doctor. because, when you're young, you think being a medical doctor is it. Then you realize as a teenager that actually it's just 2 junior degrees. If you really want to reach the pinnacle of education, you need a PhD or doctorate, right? And you're like, okay, I want all of this, right? And so you leave, you become a doctor after failure as I've mentioned, and then you live your life, you get into business, you realize I don't understand much, maybe I need to go to business school, then you go there, and so forth. So I just feel people have different dreams. And the support to those dreams differs from person to person. For me, what I've found as the best support for dreams is education, because it allows you to pivot. It allows you to wake up and be something else. There's a lot of hard work involved in between. But at the end of that hard work is the dream achieved through the education that enables you to achieve the dream.
So let's go back again to the foundation, right? So if you were that young girl, now I don't think there would have been many failures when it comes to academics. I would imagine you were straight A's for the majority of your schooling career.
Up to matric, yes. Up to matric, yes. And it was mainly talent as opposed to hard work. Up to matric.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talent and hard work.
Some hard work. I was conscientious, but I come from the Bantu education era where there wasn't much challenge, to be quite honest, in terms of the education that we were fed. So it wasn't difficult, so you didn't have to work hard at night. It's just like you have homework, you do homework and play. So that was my life up to matric.
Yes. So if we had to, if I had to ask you to think of an example as a child where you first encountered failure, what were the emotions that came up after that failure? Were you deeply hurt by the failure, or talk us a little bit about that?
That's going to be hard. Maybe because the childhood was so long ago. But as a child, I don't remember failing. And I'm being very honest. Life was beautiful. You get stars for doing well. And, no.
Something's coming,
no. When I was doing standard 2, it would have been grade 4. I had a teacher, I wonder if she's still alive. She actually almost made me leave school.
Okay.
Because I think looking back now, she had a problem of sorts. Maybe she was an abuser of something because she was very angry. She taught us Afrikaans.
Okay.
And she would come in and open the book and ask us questions, and we would line up for her to hit us. And there is nothing I'm more scared of than physical violence, because that's what it is, you know?
Yeah.
I remember I was thinking, my goodness, if I wasn't scared of my parents, I would run away from school because she made it hell. So I wonder actually where she is. I can't say her name because it's unfair to her family.
Yeah.
So it wasn't failing, but it was fear of school because of what school brought with it.
Yeah.
You know? So that is the only memory I have of school that is an unhappy memory. And then when I was doing standard 5, which is grade 7, it actually doesn't even translate to that because we had 13 years, I think, during my time. The teacher that taught standard 6 was very similar to my standard 2 teacher. He was very strict, and his language or expression of that strictness was hitting corporal punishment. And I was very clear that I'm not going to the same school for Standard 6, and my parents had to change me to a different school. Fortunately, I was lucky that my parents trusted and believed in me. So when I asked to be changed, they were like, it's fine, we'll change you. So I
Yeah.
went to another school.
Okay. And growing up in your household, when maybe some of your siblings perhaps failed or your parents experienced failure, how did they react? Because that you would have learnt,
Yeah.
to deal with failures from how your parents
Yeah.
dealt with it. So, have you got a memory of that at all? That maybe kind of formed the basis.
The memory that I have is of my brother. My brother was very naughty, and my mother was extremely strict. And she was the disciplinarian in the family. So my brother always got into trouble, and he would get the beating, and I would always have that fear. So I think the memory, the emotional memory I have as a child is fear, right? And I would be fearful for Charles, that was my brother's name, that he's going to get the beating from my mother,
Yeah.
and but in terms of parents failing, parents were very protective of what they share with the kids. So if they failed, they would sort it out amongst themselves, and we wouldn't come to know that, they failed in this thing. To us, they brought food, they made sure we were fine. So I would be lying to you, Khabazela, if I say I remember someone experiencing, maybe my sister failing, right? Because my sister she wasn't bright, so she failed maybe once or twice. So, and my dad was very loving and very accommodating. So even when my sister failed, he would be very supportive.
Okay.
My mother, she was the disciplinarian, the teacher, so she wouldn't handle it as well, but she wouldn't beat her up. But you could just see she was disappointed. Whereas my dad was that loving teddy bear who loved you regardless.
Right.
So with my mother, you had to get your story clear and, toe the line. With my dad, he was strict when it comes to some things, but just always ready to embrace you in spite of your shortcomings.
Yeah, yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. So let's see, we've got some calls coming through here, Dr. Judy. Prof. Bonang Mohale is joining us on the line. Good afternoon, Prof.
Khabazela, I just want to give a shout out to an amazing, inspirational, good quality human being, Dr. Judy Dlamini. Sawubona siswa.
Sawubona, Chancellor. It's so good to hear your voice, and Happy New Year.
Nagu and Kosiami, just to say that I continue to learn from you, and thank you so much for being the embodiment that as human beings we are more prone to carve our failures in concrete, and yet our successes, we write them in sand. Keep up the energy level. I love you with all my heart.
Oh, thank you so much, Prof. Bonang. The same goes to you tenfold.
Beautiful. That's Prof. Bonang Mohale. He's always got a beautiful way with words and all these lovely expressions and statements. So that's Prof. Bonang. If you want to maybe speak to Dr. Judy Dlamini, you're most welcome to 011 883 0702. You can also send a WhatsApp message on 072 702 1702. Now, Prof, Dr. Judy, as an adult now, all these years later, how do you react to failings?
I actually don't see them as failures, to be honest. And I think I was taught by the failures earlier on in life, where I beat myself up But what came along with that is the realization that failures don't define who I am, you know. But the beauty with failure, especially at a younger age, was to just realize that I'm not all that great after all, you know. And you then learn as an older person to laugh at yourself, because sometimes we take ourselves too seriously,
Yeah.
you know, and then you fail yourself because what you did or failed to do. And earlier on, I would beat myself up for 2 weeks. I would be like, how could I say that? How could I? Now I'm like, it happened, tough.
So how did you get to that point though? Because a lot of us with
Yeah.
failures, like you said, you'll sit there and you'll beat yourself up and you'll be, you go into a dark spiral, and then it almost puts a fear into you for
Yeah.
to doing something again.
Exactly.
So how did you get out of that and make a conscious decision to have that view that I don't view failures as a negative?
Yeah. You know, it's from failing a couple of times, one. And two, one of the things that maybe we don't talk about much as grown-ups, for me, the loss of a loved one made me see life very differently.
Okay.
It was just like nothing else mattered, basically, because, you know, I think when you understand the things that matter in life, your perspective to life changes, right? I lose my son, and I'm like, I only had one son, right? He's gone. And then everything else really doesn't matter, quite frankly. You know, it's like you mess up, so what? You know,
Yeah.
what are you going to lose? You try something, if you fail, who cares? I mean, you know, so I think it took that low point for me to look at life, failure being one of the things that happen in life, very differently, because the things that really count in life are the people that you love. Everything else is incidental, and you know, but the people that count are the people you love. And you know, the sad part of it is you don't have control over their life. There's a higher power. And that makes you so real about life. And you grab life and every day as a gift. It changes your perspective.
The upside of failure, if you've just joined us, we are talking to Dr. Judy Dlamini, a medical doctor, author, businesswoman, philanthropist, and the current Chancellor of Wits University. And we're talking about the upside of failure. And the upside of failure is basically a feature where we chat to people about their views on failures and how they handle those failures and what lessons have they taken from some of the failures in their lives. Because often we look at failures as a very negative thing in life. But if you are not failing, it means that you are not moving forward, you're not progressing, you're not challenging yourself or trying new things. But the most important thing is to learn from those failures and to take lessons. So Dr. Judy, we were talking about your childhood earlier on and the role that your parents played and how your dad versus your mom was. Now, if we look at you as a parent, yourself with Sizwe and Hasana, both very, very, very successful individuals who have reached the top of where most people would love to be. Now, growing up in your household, in terms of failures, for your son has passed, and I'm my condolences to that. That was a few years ago, and I send my condolences to you and Sizwe. But when your son was around and your daughter, and there were failures in their lives, whether that could have been academics, sports, friendships, whatever it may be, how did you handle their failures?
That's a good one, because I became the disciplinarian in my own house.
So very much like your mum.
Just like my mother. And it was quite interesting raising the two because they were so different. Our daughter is very self-motivated, and she is very hardworking, astute, conscientious. So there were no failures there. And I got worried because, you have to fail, as a parent, you want to see how you support that child and build that resilience in the child. So there were no failures there. So for some reason, I was concerned about that, right? And then my son, oh my goodness, he would fail not academically. And let me just give some background.
Yeah.
I wanted them to achieve in life. And for me, achieving in life means the grades have to be super good, right?
Yeah.
So I had a deal with them, both of them, from a very early age, that if you get an A
Yeah.
in this subject, I'll give you so much money.
Okay. So
Right?
rewards. Yeah.
Rewards, right? I apologize to everyone who's a specialist in parenting. I did it. It may be wrong, but you know what? I did it, right?
Yeah.
So for B, you'll get this. I think it started from C where you subtract. So if it was 20 Rand for A, for C, it's minus 10 and so forth,
Okay.
right? And we would write a contract, I would be like. So at the end of the year, we would look at the contract that they signed, what they achieved, and it's payday. My daughter was never motivated by that. But
Yeah.
my son, oh my goodness, he would come and say, pay up. And then sometimes he would get, maybe deliberately, I don't know, the pay up amount wrong, till I fished out the agreement and said, look at this, and he'd be like, okay. So it was very interesting. So when they were younger, failure for Sfiso was not getting the 20 Rand because he played and didn't do well. But then we changed our scoring system because he went to Clifton and I realized the reporting was different there. They would say, here was the effort and here was the mark. And then we changed our reward system. I would be like, if you get an A for effort, I don't care what you get for the actual mark. Even if it's a D, you get an A because it's about effort. So there we were teaching, give it your best. You can only ever give it your best,
Yes.
So it was interesting. We played around with that. And my son was lazy. He hated school.
Yeah.
And he wanted the easy things, like he was very good. He was intelligent, but he didn't apply himself
himself.
like the girl. So first year university, we have this deal. He passes flying colors. We're all good. We've got this. Come second year. It's like, what happens, Fiso? I mean, yeah. So it depended on what the failure was about. If you apply yourself and still fail, you'll get a huddle from the parents.
Yeah.
But if you don't apply yourself and then you fail, no gift for you for Christmas. I remember there was this Christmas where I bought Fiso a book because I was so mad with him. He had failed something and I was like, here's a book instead of what he wanted.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted something, maybe a PlayStation.
game,
Exactly. So yeah, that's how you carrot and stick.
Yeah.
But the stick was money sometimes or not getting your gift, So look, every parent will tell you that you just do your best.
Exactly.
And hope for the best,
Yes, yes.
So I hope I did my best,
Yeah. So let's get into some of the failures that you had sent through to us in your personal life. So tell us about the biggest failure that you said you encountered was your first failure at medical school. And you said that it was painful. Tell us why. Tell us about the failure and why was it painful?
When you get accepted those days, there was one medical school that took black students, and you had to get a ministerial consent for others. So it was like, this is the only one. So when you get accepted there, it's like, oh my word, you know? And remember, I wanted this thing from the age of 4,
Yes.
right? I come to medical school, I fail a course in first year. And it's like, oh my God, it's like my first failure.
So you failed the whole of first year.
No. I've
Okay.
never failed the whole of anything.
Yeah, I was like shocked if that was
One
you.
course. Possible though. I failed this course. It was physical chemistry.
Okay.
Oh, that sucked, right? But looking back now, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because it humbled me. You know, 1, 2, for the first time, it said to me, talent is not enough.
Yeah.
You're not as great as you think you are. And you know what? You work damn hard and you'll be okay. So I learned at medical school to work hard.
Okay.
And I also learned that failure doesn't define you. And then come second year, I failed another course. That was the most painful of them all. And the reason it was the most painful was because I had to reapply. So
Okay.
there was that chance that I could be excluded.
And this is your dream.
This is all I ever wanted, right? And my fate is in the panel that's going to decide whether I remain or I'm excluded. I've never been suicidal, but I was like, if I don't wake up tomorrow, it will be okay.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And I share this because I know we've just had matric results last week. There are kids that didn't do well, failed. Some did well, but there are not enough spaces for them to go to the course that they want. And I just want to say to them, when you don't get what you want, it's not the end of the world. So thank God, I wasn't excluded. So I was able to finish my degree. So the things that came out of the failure were, it was life-changing, basically. It was life-changing because I learned something about myself, how resilient I am. I learned something about life, that you just give it your best. I learned that when things don't go your way, just wake up and try again.
Beautiful.
You know?
Yeah. Just gone 9 minutes to 3 o'clock this afternoon. Khabazela in for Rilebogile, and we're talking to Dr. Judy Dlamini. So, Doc, the next failure that you had sent through, and one that's a very, very interesting failure, and I want to know what you learned from this one. And you said it's the failure to save a life when I was a doctor after giving it all I had. That sucked. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you know, you had this patient, you lost the patient, and you said you gave it your all. So why was that a failure?
It's a failure in the sense that as a doctor, you are supposed to preserve life, right? And I was still in King Edward at the time. And working as a team, we did everything and you still lost the patient. You feel like you failed, but then you realize that there is a higher power, right? You can only do so much and no more. You remember earlier on I said, in life, the most important thing is life.
Yeah.
That's all you have, basically. Because when you have life, you can do so many things with it. Fail, succeed, and all those good things. But when you lose life, it's like you've lost it all, you know? So I guess it comes from a perspective of being a doctor and the perspective of having failed to save that life at some stage. And here's the thing. And then you have other patients that somehow something gets missed, but they leave, you know? And so for me, the way I looked at it was that, there's a higher power. I don't care what you call it, but it exists. And all we can do as human beings is just give it our best shot and leave the rest to the higher power. So that's what it taught me, As a result, even when I approached business, it wasn't a matter of failing if you lose money. It was a matter of, what didn't I get right here? Is it a sector I didn't understand? Do I study the sector more, or do I get out of it? So I think it also brought the thing of your why. Why are you doing what you do? Because if your why is strong, you stay. If your why is weak, you leave.
What was your why at that point in time?
My why as a medical doctor was I love life. I love the interaction with human beings. And I had that privilege of interacting one-on-one with human beings and making their life better because of what I'd learned, So that was my why.
Yeah.
It was that joy I get out of sometimes even before a patient takes the medication, because of the conversation you've had, they feel like, okay, I feel better already, So that was my why. I think my why is that positive impact in a person. So part of the reason I lost the passion in medicine because I did occupational therapy, so I would consult in business. But when you come to prime media as an occupational doctor, you don't own the relationship between the employees and yourself. You are employed by prime media.
Yes.
And Khabazela is coming as an employee of prime media to this doctor. You don't have that same engagement and that same relationship. So that wasn't my why. My why was never to be a doctor that serves prime media. My why was a doctor that serves Khabazela.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's not for me.
Not for me anymore. Hence, then you totally changed track and went into, study your MBA and went into business and left the medicine field.
Many reasons. That's one of them.
One of them.
Yeah.
Your next failure, it says the failure to get God to answer your prayers where it involved a loved one's life.
That's my son, And that's an interesting one because, as I said earlier on, it changes your perspective to life.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you thought money was the thing to chase, you realize that it's not. Because I would give everything away that I have to have my son here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it makes you realize that, yes, there is a higher power, but also there are things that are outside your control. And they happen to be the things that matter the most to you, right? And as a result, you learn to wake up in the morning and be grateful because there was no guarantee you were going to wake up. It just changes the way you look at life,
Yeah.
So it's those good and bad gifts that we get from the universe or God or whoever you think the higher power is that makes us who we are and change our perspective in terms of how we engage with life.
Sure. Looking at some of the other stuff that you'd sent through, failures in business. You've had countless failures in business. And, maybe then you might have looked at those and thought, it was a failure. But looking back now, you said that they don't matter.
No.
They don't matter at all.
No.
You fail, you get back up and you do your thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Judy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in studio,
Thank
talking to you about your views on failure, what shaped them as a child, as an adult woman, successful woman. And thank you for sharing some of your lessons from the failures that you have been through. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Khabazela. It was an honor.
Dr. Judy Dlamini, medical doctor, businesswoman, author, philanthropist, Chancellor of Wits University, on the upside of failure.
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.